Welcome to Harry Potter and the Anxious Millennials, a show where we delve week by week into each chapter of the Harry Potter series. Hello and welcome back. How are you, Ari?
I'm good, Adam. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for inquiring.
Inquiring.
Well, Ari, let's talk about Chapter 7, called Bagman and Crouch.
The magic number 7. The magic number in this book and in the world of Bangtan. So 7 is a very magical number for us for multiple reasons.
Just generally. It's
just generally.
Lucky number. Ari, you are hosting, so you have to read the script.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, damn, I should have done that. Let's start over. Hi, welcome back. This is us greeting you for the first time, not the second.
Hello.
Adam, how are you?
Good.
That's you doing it the second time. Good.
Yeah.
This week we read chapter 7 called Bagman and Crouch. How would you say that in an English accent? Bagman and Crouch.
Bagman and Crouch. Crouch.
Bagman and Crouch. You do it better than I can. Adam, tell me what happens in this chapter, please.
So this chapter is kind of long. So in this chapter, they arrive at the campsite. They set up their tents. They get a bucket of water. And they meet Ludo Bagman and Barty Crouch Sr.
Do we even know? We don't know there's a junior.
I don't think it says, I don't think there's a reference to him being senior. So I shouldn't have said that. Just Barty Crouch. Mr. Barty Crouch.
Mr. Barty Crouch.
But that's pretty much it. And Bertha Jorkins is mentioned again. It's like she really is drilling it home. This is actually, every time she references it, I'm like, this is actually now more embarrassing that I don't remember who she is because she's name checked so much in this book.
But fine. Just in this one, and then she never comes back again.
Yeah. And in my defense, you don't actually meet her. You aren't given a description of what she looks like. You don't she doesn't talk. She's not actually in a scene. She's Godot. She's waiting for Bertha.
But remember,
Jorkins.
We're waiting for Jorkins. But I told you we do get a moment where we physically see her spirit. We talked about this.
It's true.
Okay.
At the end of the book. I
was waiting for you to be like, oh, we do? Again?
Yeah. I did think it was weird that Joe described her as being like heavy-titted. She was like a heavy-breasted. I'm making this up. a triple D woman walks out of the wand.
A woman with huge knockers was suddenly present. It's just oh my God, wait, I keep meaning to tell you.
Like when the Patronus comes out and it's antlers first, but she comes out breasts first.
Wait, can I do that in the shot?
Bertha, is that you? Bertha! So as I remember from last week, they had just port-keyed their way to the Quidditch World Cup fairgrounds. What I'm calling the fairgrounds. I guess they would technically say
you don't want to call it a bog. No, not a bog.
A moor. A misty moor.
You don't want to call it moor?
So they get there and these guys are checking them in. One of their names is Basil. They're supposed to be dressed in muggle clothes.
Basil like the spice.
Yes.
Because, in my American accent, I was like, Basil? 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 Who is Basil?
Yeah. We got Basil and oregano checking people in. It's all very
Parmesan sprout. Basil.
Parmesan sprout. Yeah.
Oregano.
Salt and pepper have paprika on Blue's Clues. It's all coming together.
They're cinematic all universe. Yeah, this is Parmesan Sprout's brother. Basil Sprout.
Basil sprout. Basil and oregano sprout.
Canon. HP Anxious canon.
Done.
Great.
So Basil checks them in. Basil Sprout checks them in. And Basil is wearing a tweed suit with thigh-high galoshes. So work.
Thigh-high? Yeah.
I will say, here's the thing, is like she's describing this as if it was like, it's pretty kooky. And I was like, you would see an outfit like this in Boys Town. You would see an outfit like this in the West Village in New York. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And
then the other guy is wearing a kilt and a poncho, which is really just a top skirt. So he's wearing two skirts.
Oh my God.
Let's say that.
The kilt and the poncho, I was like, this is giving me like Jungi editorial.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. Fashion the house down boots, mama.
Yes. I was like, let this man wear what he wants to wear. If this is what he likes, if this has him feeling his oats, who are we to say?
Who are we?
Who are we?
We are not oat bearers.
Us muggles, oatless. What are we to say?
We are but barley. They are the oats.
You're barley. I'm Basil.
Stupid.
What is happening? I didn't know. If someone would have told me this is what we were going to be talking about when we were talking about this chapter,
we're going to do like another 30 minutes on Basil and spaghetti jokes. Now, wait, I do have a recommendation. If you go to Trader Joe's, they have a basil marinara sauce in a jar that is really good, like on its own. You don't really need to add anything to it. So I definitely recommend it. If you have a Trader Joe's, if you like a marinara, but you don't like the time of making a marinara, because it does take quite a bit of time in the day, their jarred marinara basil is very good.
Does take a lot of time to like heat up? What are you talking about?
To like actually make your own marinara sauce, like
getting the homemade,
like crushed tomatoes. Homemade marinara. Yeah. Okay, so Basil's like, your campground is this way. You're in the first field you come to. You'll meet a guy named Mr. Roberts. Mr. Roberts is his name.
The most like muggle last name.
Yeah,
Roberts.
So they go on this little walk, and the Diggories go off because they're in a separate campground. We're not going to see them again for a little bit.
Right.
And then we get to this cottage, and there's a man checking people in, and he's a muggle apparently, which this whole thing seems weird. But there's a muggle man checking people in. His name is Mr. Roberts, and he's very curious about what seems to be going on. Remember, this is a moor. This is basically
swamp
an area
land
that no one goes to.
Potato Creek.
When
you're driving into Potato Creek and there's like the marshes.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
And so he's not used to people pre-booking campsite spots
here.
Yeah. So that's already raised his alarms. Mr. Weasley doesn't know how to count muggle money. Muggle money isn't hard to count.
I was just going to say, how different is it than... Come on now.
I understand that there's paper notes, so that in itself is different than like coins.
But
apart from that, they all say there's a number on it.
Yeah.
Okay? And we all use
you can do math.
The same numeral system. So
yeah.
I don't know. Unless Mr. Weasley's adult, which could be true.
But he has been described as a fully qualified wizard, so...
Fully qualified. Joe. But we know that arithmancy is not a mandatory study at Hogwarts.
I mean, who am I to judge? I am not good at math. So math was never my... Actually, it was until I was good at math. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to give myself a little bit more credit there because I was good at math depending on the teacher. Which I think a lot of people...
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that's a lot of people struggle too.
Yeah. Like...
Maybe we shouldn't have the high school basketball coach teach math. Maybe that's not a good idea.
Who still never said my name right or could say the word difference correctly.
So Harry helps Mr. Weasley count his money. And
1, 2.
Yeah. Mr. Roberts is still questioning things because he was talking about there's a man wearing a kilt and a poncho. We've already
Leave him alone.
Leave him alone. He's absolutely slaying.
He's turning a look.
He's turning a look. Yeah. So anyway, he's like asking all these questions, and all of a sudden this wizard apparates out of nowhere next to Mr. Roberts and obliviates him. And this is where I want to ask the question.
Please.
This feels morally gray.
Yes.
He has to be this man. Then he says this man has to be obliviated 10 times a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes me feel pretty icky. That's not a funny thing. A little funny throwaway moment.
We will never know how spells work. We don't understand anything. It seems like if you go too hard, you can erase their entire memory of everything. How do you focus it in enough to be like, I need you to not remember the past one day? Well, and how do you end up with a Gilderoy Lockhart situation where it's like, I am never going to remember who I am for the rest of my life?
Or just like essentially have brain damage.
Right.
Ooh, I don't like it. I was like,
it's real gross. It's played for comedy.
Yes, it is.
And I do understand that, but I also think it's weird that we're supposed to be like, ha ha!
Oh, comical. This man's losing his mind.
In his drink. Ha ha ha! Take advantage of him.
I know. No, it kind of has that. It's weird. It's like, he's just a silly muggle. But I'm like, we are all muggles. So essentially,
it's a little date rape.
It's it has that type of vibe. It's like, oh, well, he won't know, so it won't hurt him type of thing. I'm like, why do you have him doing this? Why don't you have him up at the front with Barty Crouch or something like that? I don't know. It was weird.
I don't understand. I understand that you couldn't, there's probably nowhere in the UK that you can find a space where like there can be a campground and there's not at least a couple muggles. Like people live everywhere and people move out to very rural areas. That's fine. I don't understand how there's no other things that you can like you are connected to the prime minister. We find out later that there is a direct connection between the minister of magic and the prime minister. Right. It isn't used frequently, but it seems like if you're going to have the Quidditch World Cup, equivalent to the football, like the FIFA World Cup in your country, the prime minister should probably know that you're going to have thousands of people like traveling into your country.
Couldn't you just be like, the SoFi Stadium is under construction and then have it there? Just be like, it's under construction right now.
Muggles can't see Hogwarts.
Right. They realize they have to do something before they get close enough. So
the spell exists. Whatever that spell is.
Yeah.
It's not like it hasn't happened before. We can't just reuse that.
That was what I was wondering, because I was like, they would have had to have done that to other people, so why not just do that to him instead of obliviating him 10 times
Or
a day?
What I was saying was work with the prime minister and be like, hey, send this guy, give him like a free vacation. He's going to Disney World for a week.
Yeah.
Send him off. We'll pay for the whole thing. Bobbity boo.
Yeah.
It seems weird. I don't love obliviating people that don't deserve it. So anyway, they get their camp, or they get their like plot. They're told which plot is theirs for their two tents that they have. So they start traveling through, and we get the description of all these different types of tents. So you have very like standard Muggle looking tents, but things are just off enough about them. So there's like there's a tent with a chimney, there's a tent with a weather vane, and then there's some that are just like palaces and like beautiful silk, like draped fabric, like cascading down like a Cirque du Soleil show.
That's what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be. You can find us there.
Yeah, thank you. And then Arthur has the little joke that he's like, we just can't, when we're all together, we can't wait to like show off in front of each other, which is very funny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they set up the tent. Arthur is as even though we know Arthur is one who has broken wizarding laws before.
Yes.
And will do again. He's like very determined this entire trip to be like, no, we're doing it. The Muggles are so close.
We're doing it the Muggle way.
Now there is probably, I do think he was given these tickets like for free, basically. So he's very
so behave yourselves.
Right. Yeah.
Do this the right way.
This is a courtesy. Yeah. So he was like, so we're gonna set up these tents. So Harry, you wanna just
Harry?
Harry?
No, please go ahead.
Again, Hermione's also a Muggle. I do think some of these people forget that Hermione is also a Muggle-born person and probably has more Muggle-born experiences than Harry does.
I was gonna say, I was like, I bet Hermione did go camping with her parents, where 100%. Harry definitely, he says he didn't.
Yeah.
So.
But they figure it out. They set up the tents. There's 2 tents. There's one for the boys, which will be like 8 of them. And then there's one for the girls, aka Ginny and Hermione. Harry and Hermione like look at each other like, I don't.
What the fuck is going on?
Girl, this is a tent. We're not in some of these big ones. This is a tent. And then they walk inside and it's the greatest. It's like peak.
Oh, it's so great.
It's so good. You walk in and it's a 3-bedroom apartment, or it's a 3-room flat.
Yeah.
There's a kitchen, there's a bathroom. It's so good. I love the reveal. It's like what do they say on Doctor Who? It's bigger on the inside whenever they go into like the TARDIS or whatever.
It's bigger on the inside. Is it? I noticed.
So I love that little reveal. So fun. I wish it was real. Mr. Weasley got these tents from a guy named Perkins. So Perkins works ostensibly with Mr. Weasley in some capacity, and he has lumbago. So he was not able to attend the Quidditch World Cup.
I don't know. What exactly is lumbago? I don't think I've ever actually looked up the definition of that.
It's low back pain. It's the
sciatica.
Thing where people do the joke, or old people, like there's the joke in Carousel Progress where it's like, weather's coming in because my lumbago's acting up. So it's like any kind of like barometric shift. You can like tell. Anyway, back to Harry Potter. So they got the tent from Perkins. They set up the tents. And then he's like, oh, we need water because we're going to have to like get some water to make tea. Obviously, we're British. What else are we going to do?
Obviously.
So he sends Harry, Ron, and Hermione out to the tap, which is just like a faucet in the middle of the campground. So Harry, Ron, and Hermione head off on their way, and I have to show you.
Oh wow!
I love this man on the bottom left who is wearing
in the floaty.
A floaty. It's great.
Wow.
And like there's like a Chinese kind of tent, like it looks like a classic Chinese house. There's like a Brazilian flag, there's a Jamaican flag, there's Irish flags, there's Bulgarian flags. Like it's such a great picture. I love this photo.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool.
But as they're going through the campground on their way to the tap, they see this kid named Kevin who has stolen his father's wand and is attacking a slug. So at this point, we are aware that Kevin will grow up to be a Death Eater because he's probably a sociopath.
Wait, it's like, what is the... Okay, so we've talked about how it's like, it's essentially just up to the parents to take responsibility for the children here. Like, I'm just like, is it as soon as you start going to school, you're not allowed to Because he was literally holding a wand and like performing magic.
Right.
This is an underage wizard performing magic.
Right. I guess it would be like once you go to Hogwarts, then you're officially like, because you're being officially trained, so you can't use official magic because you've been given your wand at that point. I guess because he stole his dad's wand. I don't know.
This is also the place, if we're going off of it's just like where you're located, like if you're the only wizard that lives in this area, I'm like, well, then you all can be doing magic right now. Because there's all these wizards and witches here, so they would not know who did what.
And warlocks.
And warlocks.
And then there's kids on broomsticks, and I love the idea that there are broomsticks that are almost like those like Barbie trucks or those like those little cars where you
drive it. Yeah,
where they like actually don't go like higher than like a foot off the ground, just so like their feet leave the ground, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And I did note that the ministry official that was like rushing over to go take care of it was like, I bet the parents are having a bit of a lion. And I was like, a lion? Twice in a row.
A bit of a lion.
Bit of a lion.
Oh, yeah.
And then they run into Seamus Finnegan and Dean Thomas.
Of course.
Seamus's mother's there. They're ardent, obviously, Ireland supporters for the Quidditch World Cup. The entire Irish section is just decked out in like green and shamrocks and everything. And they ask Harry, Ron, and Hermione, like, are you supporting Ireland? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And then Ron's like,
you're supporting Ireland, aren't you?
Aren't you? Belfast.
Belfast.
So that's fun. And then they leave and Ron's like, as if we were going to say no. Like,
which like agreed.
Are you out of your mind? So they head off. They get to the tap. There's a line. Everybody's got to fill their water kettles. And there is a ministry official pleading with a man named Archie that he needs to wear the correct garments. Now, am I going to read too far into this? Oh.
I just went to go. And then my thing fell. I knocked my mic over. Archie. Baby.
Now, am I going to read too far into this and point out that there is a problem with a man wearing a woman's garment?
Oh, I was hoping you were going to. That's what I was going to address.
I did note it. I noted it.
The gender roles. She's revealing her gender roles, her thoughts on gender roles. As she always does.
Did notice that. Again, not a great look. But a little bit of comedy here. The idea of someone holding a pair of trousers pleading for a man to put them on is very funny.
Well, and it's also like, are we supposed to believe that no male wizards wear pants? Because like, I'm pretty sure a lot of the male wizards wear pants.
Yeah. It's
not
like
he the stand?
What does that mean? Like,
they don't wear pants ever?
They only wear dress robes? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, like, and they don't wear undergarments?
Also,
like when you wear kilts?
If you're that concerned, if he like, is this like, I want open air around my bollocks, which is basically how he ends the conversation.
Yeah.
Then conjure up a kilt and be like, okay, please wear this.
Yeah. He's essentially it's like a nightgown, like a muumuu.
Yeah.
Whatever. Who cares?
Also, the camp is so big. If you're this far in, who's seeing you? I understand when there are violet flames shooting up 20 feet into the air.
Right.
Okay, take care of that. But we also know that there's only one man that you keep obliviating 10 times a day. So like, what are we doing?
And also it's like, he already assumes that people are coming from all over the world. Like, there are places where the men wear just like long robes, dresses.
Yeah. If there were if there were like people, if there were like wizards from like, I don't know, like the Middle East, like they would have like long garments like that.
Exactly.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
This is weird. This part, I was like, I get what you're trying to do, Joe, but it's a little.
But it's also that classic. It's the thing that we've talked about before.
Yes.
British
the Brits
people can't get over a man in a dress.
A bloke in a dress.
But like,
I think
not
it's so funny.
Dressed as a woman, but specifically just like a guy
bloke
in a dress is so funny to them. It is peak comedy. There's never been anything funnier. There never will be anything funnier. That's it.
Yeah, we had this conversation because we were talking about UK Drag Race and how like a lot of them won't shave. A lot of them purposefully will kind of do the bloke in a dress bit.
It's not about being fished.
No. Have we already moved past the moment where she mentions the Salem Witches Institute? Because I loved that.
Oh, I didn't like that
moment. You did not like that? Oh, wait. Sorry, hold on.
We passed it. We did pass it.
The Salem Witches Institute. I was like, first off, of course, because that just when we think about like witches in America, everyone always thinks of Salem first. So I was like, okay, sure. But I was like, is there anything else we could say about America? I don't know. It was like just that one thing. I was like, that represents the entire United States of America. Okay.
I think what I was annoyed by is that they are sitting under the Salem Witches Institute that Harry and Hermione and Ron walk by. It is described as they are sitting, gossiping happily beneath a spangled banner. And I was like, does it have to
what
be?
Is it? Let's say Star Spangled Banner.
They can't just be under a sign.
I know.
Why does it have to be an American flag?
The Star Spangled Banner.
It gives me very Daughters of the American Revolution energy.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
There's also a moment that I before we get to the Archie moment where they do walk by the Bulgarian section. And the Bulgarian flag, if you don't know, is red, white, and green. And there are posters of Victor Crumb all over the place, the famed young seeker from the Bulgarian team. And I am now going to show you this artist's interpretation of the Crumb poster. And you tell me if this changes your mind on whether Crumb is hot or not, okay?
Okay. I don't have anything to hold.
Thoughts?
Why was this? This is kind of a similar vibe to Cedric Diggory too.
This gives me huge Soviet Union poster energy.
But like a strip tease from like Cabaret.
I think he looks good. Eat him up.
Maybe it's very blurry. Maybe send me a photo of the page.
Sure, we'll be happy to do that.
Adam's gonna save this photo for later.
Yeah, it's gonna go into the bank, if you will.
If you will.
The spank bank. Okay. So they go back, they have their water, they're gonna head back to the tents. They come across Oliver Wood and his family. And Oliver Wood lets him know that he's been signed. That's the word. Oliver Wood has been signed to the Puddlemore United Reserve Team, which I guess is
Puddlemere. Oh, my guy said Puddlemere.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wrote Puddlemore, but it is Puddlemere. Puddlemere United. I'm guessing the reserve team is like their second string. That's what I'm going to say. That seems right.
Yeah. In case anyone gets hurt.
Right.
He might be able to go in.
He's a Rudy. He's a real Rudy in that way.
He's a Rudy, yes.
He's a Rudy. They also happen upon Ernie McMillan And they also come across Cho Chang.
Cho Chang. Hey, girl, hey.
A person I still am not ready to discuss her name, so we're going to just move on from there.
Okay.
Okay. So they finally get back, and they're like, why did it take so long? And they say it's because we ran into a bunch of our friends. We're very popular. Excuse me. It is funny
we know a
because
lot of people, okay?
Harry walked into the Leaky Cauldron in book 1, and everybody stopped and was like, bless my soul. It's Harry Potter. Meanwhile, now he's just walking through thousands of witches and wizards, all who have to know his name. At the very least, every British person there knows his name. If not, it has to be... There are other countries that have to have heard of Harry Potter.
And they're hosting. So there's a lot of British people there.
That's what I'm saying. So it seems silly that no one notices him.
Bless my soul. It's Harry Potter.
It is Harry Potter.
Wild. Anyway, so Harry has this realization too that, like, of course there are other schools and other countries that have witches and wizards because of course the UK isn't the only place with witches and wizards.
Right, of course.
So it's that moment you have when you're a kid where you're like, oh, the world is bigger than the like 6 blocks that I know. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I liked the little story that Ron told about Bill having like a pen pal from Brazil. But then it like ended really sad.
I know.
He like invites him to go to Brazil and meet his family, and obviously Bill can't go because they're poor, which we have addressed. Why are the Weasleys poor? We'll never know. But they're poor and he can't go, and so
spending all his money on plugs.
Yeah, plugs. And not hair plugs, which is what he should be spending it on.
Sick burn. That one's for the baldies.
The baldos. And then he was like, so then the kid got really offended that he didn't want to go, and then sent him a cursed hat and it shriveled his ears. And I was like, well, that seems
a bit much.
Unnecessary.
Seems like a bit of an overreaction.
This is, I think I have come full 180 from where I stood as a child on this series, and I think being a wizard would be terrible.
Just gotta watch your back at every turn.
Every turn. So anyway, they finally are able to cook breakfast. Percy, Charlie, and Bill all join them after they've evaporated after their bit of a lion.
Did you just say Percy?
Did I say Percy?
Percy?
Percy, Bussy, Charlie, and Bill. So they've made breakfast, classic English breakfast, sausage and eggs. And
no beans on toast, though. No beans on toast.
They also have made some tea. And Arthur's family has already heard every story about the Ministry of Magic. They're tired of hearing about the Ministry of Magic. It doesn't excite them anymore. Yeah. But there are new participants to this conversation who are all ears. So we get all these descriptions of these different offices in the Ministry of Magic, such as the Goblin Liaison Office, the Committee on Experimental Charms, the Accidental Magical Reversal Squad, the Department of Mysteries. Ooh.
Yeah, the Unspeakables.
Which I'm going to say, for the first time in this book, I'm going to say Unspeakables isn't clever. That's not a title.
Unspeakables.
It's just,
I kind of like it.
I don't like it. I think it's bad. I think it
does it for me.
Clever.
It does it for me. Also, wait, we didn't talk about Arthur with the fucking matches.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Arthur not knowing how to light a match was me before like the age of like 15 lighting a match because I would get too scared of the fire and like immediately put it out.
Whoopsie. That's so funny.
And yet again, Hermione's doing the emotional work of teaching a grown man how to use a match. So Ludo Bagman comes over Ludo Bagman is the head of magical games and sports. He's
Mhm.
wearing what basically I think is his
A
old
bumblebee.
uniform. Do
A
you want to see the
bumblebee
photo?
outfit. A bumblebee outfit. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
So,
Was it
You know.
Wilborn Wasps? Is that his team?
Wilborn Wasps. Yeah, that is
Okay.
correct. So he comes over and he is the one who got them the tickets. So,
Very kind.
very nice,
Thank
very
you.
nice.
Very
And then
nice
we
of
have this
you.
bit of an exchange where Percy like introduces himself because he's eager to move up in the ministry, obviously, and then they start talking about like
Percy.
having a little side bet, and Arthur does this very, very modest bet, which is what is the bet? It's not even anything exciting. It's
A galleon, isn't it?
a galleon on Ireland to win.
Yeah.
Ooh, hey, big spender.
A big spender.
And then the twins go balls to the wall.
All out.
All of their life savings they
For
put on this
real.
bet with Ludo Bagman. I've just watched Guys and Dolls, so I feel like I know a little bit about betting culture now.
What's the song? What's the song that he sings?
Luck be a lady.
Luck be a lady tonight. Luck be a lady tonight.
Yeah.
That's not what it looks like. We were really nice. Adam.
So they bet that Ireland will win, but Crumb will catch the snitch. This is the crazy. Even if you were like, this could happen, I would still never bet this. Because this is like, how often does this happen? Like, never.
Yeah.
How often does the
but-
other team's seeker catch the snitch, but they don't win?
I guess, I mean, maybe obviously hindsight is 2020, but the fact that everyone loses their minds over Crumb, but like Ireland as a team is just so good. There's a part of me that I was just kind of like, oh, of course, because Crumb is just like that good that he would just kind of take matters into his own hands and be like, well, no one else on this team is as good as me, so might as well end it before we get pummeled, you know? I don't know.
So they make this bet with Ludo Bagman. He takes them up on the bet, and he also says he's going to include five galleons for their fake wand, which they've thrown into the mix in the bet. Then in comes Barty Crouch. Barty
Crouch.
And Mr. Crouch is literally the exact opposite. It's a real odd couple situation. If Ludo Bagman is fun and frivolous, Mr. Crouch is not. Just to put it mildly. Rigid. If you've ever seen Mary Poppins, he's Mr. Banks.
Yeah, he is Mr. Banks. 100%.
At the beginning of the movie.
He is Mr. Banks. Yes.
So
for sure.
I also want to say Mr. Crouch is described because Ludo Bagman is like the Bulgarian version of me is like I don't understand what he's saying, and Percy's like he speaks 200 languages including gobbledygook, and I was like Joe
gobbledygook.
Coco Chanel once said, before you leave your house, take one thing off, and it was this sentence. Just take this sentence right out of the book, honey. I almost feel like the only reason this
need
line,
gobbledygook.
This line is in the book is because he also speaks Mermish, which we will encounter
which we need
mer
to know
people later. So we need to know that mer people are real, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I still didn't need gobbledygook. Anything else could have worked. I actually think it would have been funny if he can speak he can speak Mermish and Troll and also Portuguese. Just like something very normal.
And also Portuguese. Yeah. And also Swahili.
And also Valley Girl. That would be fun.
Take the 405 to the 10 to, oh wait, no, that was Southern.
Take the 405.
Take the
You know, just take the 405. I'm over here in Southern California.
Take the 405 to the
Take
10
the 405
to the 101.
10 to the 101.
It's literally just Kim Kardashian's voice.
La Cienega.
Oh, La Cienega is so terrible.
Van Nuys.
Cahuenga,
Van Nuys.
Tahunga,
Sunset.
you know.
Cahuenga.
Yeah.
Cahuenga.
Just really bad.
Mulholland.
Mulholland. Oh my God. Yeah. And then I went to Venice. Santa Monica's just like, it's just, you know, out of style. Venice is the only way to go.
I went to the Grove the other day. No, I went to the Americana the other day.
The Americana. Los Feliz.
I was down in Glen.
Feliz.
I was in Glendale, so I went to the Galleria.
Glendale Galleria. Oh my God. So stupid.
Dumb. One of our worst bits. Okay.
It's just the SNL bit. That's all it is.
That's literally all it is. So Bertha gets brought up again. She gets name checked that she's still missing. And Arthur's like, do you maybe want to...
You want to look for her?
Look for her? And Ludo's like, no, I'm so busy.
There's so much to do. We can't spare a single person. What are you talking about?
I don't understand why, if there's this many people that have concerns, why can't they just involve like an Auror? Why does it have to be his department?
Yeah.
Looks for her?
Yeah.
If like a doctor's missing, they're not going to be like, well, other doctors need to go find the doctor. They're going to call the police.
Does she not have any relatives? Like no one else has been like, she's literally just like an orphaned woman, an orphaned adult woman.
Yeah, she has no family, no friends.
No friends. No one else has reported her missing. It's so weird.
It's very convenient. I'll say that. It's very convenient. So Barty Crouch has a little chat, and you get the tease that there's something happening at Hogwarts later, but we can't really talk about it. But there is something over at Hogwarts. But like, don't talk about it.
Keep it a secret. Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anybody. But there is like, I can't literally say.
Can we talk about the Weatherby?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it. So
I have some questions.
I had a very specific question, but Mr. Crouch calls Percy Weatherby, assuming that he doesn't know his last name is Weasley. But then, what does he call Arthur?
Arthur is right there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way you don't know
Arthur.
These two are related.
Yeah. You clearly know Arthur. So obviously you would know Percy, and there's no way you're going to think Arthur's last son's name is Weatherby.
And Percy, an accomplished wizard. I'm not taking anything away. He was very smart. He was a prefect. He was head boy. All of that, fine. But like Arthur works at the ministry, so there was like a bit of nepotism, I'm sure, like in getting this job.
Yeah.
Like, just people knowing other people.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he's calling him Weatherby.
It would have come up that like his dad, Percy 100% would have been like, oh, well, my dad works for the ministry too. So I always wanted to work
the
for
interview.
the ministry. Like, yes, 1,000,000 times for every interview he had. He found a way to bring it up every time. So I'm just like,
that's not even a read on Percy. That's just what you need to do in a good interview. If you have a contact, talk about the contact.
Your dad works at the ministry. You know what it's like. You know what like that type of job, kind of what to expect from that type of job.
Yeah.
It's really, does he not know Arthur's last name? Does he just know Arthur?
That was my question.
Arthur?
As I was like, well, then what do you call? But I also feel like it's weird to just call Arthur because I feel like British people professionally, who aren't friends, like call each other by their last name.
Use last names a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It is weird. It's a good bit.
Yeah.
But it is weird.
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. I was asking Michael, like, if that was a common thing with his schooling, if they would call him Ryan instead of Michael, which is kind of funny because that's a very popular first name here in
Right.
America. But like, I don't think, I think when I asked him, he said, no, not really. They always called them by their first name. Maybe if you don't know someone that well, maybe they still do it though. That bumped me. I get it's fun. Weatherby as like
It's
a
fun.
name is funny.
It's fun. It's
Thank
funny.
you, Weatherby. Like cute, but
Cute. And it gives you a clue into like Barty Crouch might not be as like he might not be as perfect as he seems. Like it is a bit of a joke on like Percy will just take it because he's so determined
looks
to
up
like
to him so much. Yeah.
Right. But it is also like a bit of like insight as to who Barty is. And I do think once we get into like the whole Barty backstory, I kind of think he's also very interesting in like someone who tries to very much do the right thing. But like, I think a lot of people have this thing where if it's like a close loved one, you just like kind of forego all of your moral compass to be like, but it's my family member. And like, what am I going to do? Like, just not, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, you kind of enable the bad behavior.
Yeah. But so that's really all that happens. And then the day goes on, Bagman and Crouch leave, and there are like wizards coming around and selling little trinkets, little souvenirs, little bits and bobs. And Harry buys himself, Ron and Hermione, omnioculars.
So cool.
So cool.
These sound so cool.
So cool. And I did really like the bit where Ron was like, got embarrassed that Harry was going to buy him one. So Harry was like, fine, then I won't get you a Christmas present. We'll call it even. And I thought that was like very cute. And a very good friend moment. And that's kind of the end of the chapter. And
also,
then all of a
Ron,
sudden,
Harry's a trust fund baby. He does not care, except the omnioculars.
Pride. So at the end of the chapter, there is a big booming voice. The lights in the forest light up to lead their way to the Quidditch pitch. And
Arthur is just as excited as all the children.
Yes.
Well, thank you. That definitely wraps up this chapter. Next week, we'll be reading chapter 8 called The Quidditch World Cup. It's finally happening, folks.
It's official.
Let us know, sports fans, sporty, anxious millennials, how you felt reading about the Quidditch World Cup.
It's important to know.
We would like to know. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you find your podcasts. As always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so we can get a perfect Newt score. 5 stars only, or else you'll be forced to, I don't know, manually put up a tent or something.
Yeah, nothing really happens in this chapter. So
Nothing at all.
You'll be obliviated 10 times in a day.
Oh, yeah, that would be... I'm not even going to threaten that. It's too terrible to joke about. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at HPAnxious, Instagram at HPAnxious, and YouTube at the Ampliverse, where, remember, you can watch our full episodes now on YouTube and see us. We are hosted on Anchor and recorded on Zencaster, so thank you to both of them. And we are a proud member of the Ampliverse. Check them out at theampliverse.com. Thank you, Adam. That was delightful. Good job. That was a long chapter.
Oh, thanks. It was a very long chapter. Yeah. You texted me and you were like, I'm going to need an extra 15 minutes. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I was almost going to have to text you and be like,
good. Good. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was a long one. It was a long one. And as always... Knox.
Knox.